Hi, folks. We're kicking the show off with this.
No, that's the wrong house. Wrong house.
Well, there you have it, Rikko. What do you think of that?
So I guess that's our unclear in the concept.
It is. And it kicks off our show about our physical world and our virtual world and what happens when they collide. So for you listening to this as a podcast, you can go to The Professor is Live and see the unclear on the concept clips. And they're also on our Spotify page and on our YouTube channel.
Welcome to The Professor is Live with Mark Salisbury, Professor of Computer Science at the University of St. Thomas. In each lively 25-minute episode, Mark and producer Rikko Smart dive into topics shaping our world, featuring expert interviews and engaging live audience participation. Discover groundbreaking ideas for the future and timeless wisdom you can't afford to forget, all infused with humor and charm. Leave every episode feeling inspired, informed, and optimistic about what lies ahead. For more bragging about this show, go to theprofessorislive.com.
And that's our intro. I'm Mark Salisbury. Welcome to The Professor is Live. I'm here with my producer, Rikko. That's him right down in the corner, you can see. And today we're taking on a big question. What happens when our virtual world collides with our physical world? And yes, that image behind me is a fantasy image of our worlds colliding behind me. Most of us have dipped a toe into virtual reality. Maybe you stepped into a video game character or wandered around a social platform like Second Life, where honestly, my avatar looked better than I do in real life. Then there's augmented reality, the idea you can walk around in the real world and digital info is layered right on top of it. Glasses or screens project details onto your environment so you can see more than just meets the eye. Kind of like X-ray vision. Wouldn't it be great if it helped you find your car keys? But today we're talking about the next leap, and that's contextual reality. It's dynamic, adaptive information that changes depending on who you are, where you are, and what you need. It's a shift from static text to interconnected networks, to living systems that just don't only inform, but they perform. I called on someone, right, that's much smarter than me about this, and it's Scott Moody, who's an expert on the Internet of Things. He's a software architect, and he's a former technical fellow at Boeing. He's here to explain how this tech can transform both our homes and our workplaces. Here's what Scott has to say. Welcome, Scott. Can you kick us off with a little kind of a history lesson about these different kinds of technologies we're going to talk about and how they specifically relate to what you're working on these days?
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me on again. My reoccurring talking with everybody. So what we're talking about, you had mentioned earlier before we switched a little bit, the books of Tomorrowland, right? What are the books going to be? We're in this, and then it comes to our virtual reality, augmented reality, or just the internet versus our physical world. And that's why you mentioned physical worlds collide type of thing. The physical world is where I walk in the room and I click on a light switch, right? And the light turns on. The virtual world is somehow I come in and say, Siri, turn on the light, and the light turns on. So I've been dealing with all those dimensions, and I have people in the disabled community or just people that can't use a computer very well, trying to give them back to the physical world. How can they interact with this virtual world, which a lot of us computer literate people and the kids, middle school kids, know how to do the apps and all that kind of stuff. So how do they get back out to the physical world? So I think what we're going to talk about, right, is the virtual environment, which is the digital world, the virtual reality, which is kind of this augmenting it in augmented reality. So that's what I think we're going to talk about.
Well, yeah, it is, and I think for our audience, I think most of us have, we got an idea about virtual reality. There's, games that we would play, and we're a participant. And for those who remember, there was something called Second Life, which was like a landscape, and you could go in there. And I've heard people remark that it's kind of like people that participated in Second Life never had a first life, but that's a whole nother topic. But that's an idea that most of us are used to. And then we're used to this augmented reality thing where, we're in a virtual world and we're looking around, or we're in our physical world, I should say. And then there's like, if we're wearing goggles or something like that, there's little tags on things, right? And so that might tell you how to fix it if you're a repairman, that kind of stuff. So this stuff has been creeping up on us. But what I'd like our audience to understand is you're talking about a whole different level here. And you and I have been throwing out the term contextual reality, in that it's tailored to people as individuals. And so what would that mean? Can you give us an example of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I like that term, contextual reality. That was kind of cool because contextual is us touching things, right? That textures, and that's the physical side. But I just made a note that so contextualized reality, or the book that is appropriate at this point in time, right? If you're walking in the new Airbnb, right? You just rented for a couple of days, you're on a sofa or however that works. You go in, and it's got a manual. And it says, here's how to turn the light switch on. And you read it, and you say, okay, you go over that light. Here's how to run the VCR, pretty much, maybe a VCR. That contextualized information. But you want to make sure that's valid for that user at that point. When they go home to Timbuktu, you don't want them hitting the light switch virtually, right? So we need a way to permission-based, all that kind of stuff. But back to the physical world, how do we equate the equivalent of these lights? I've got a photo I've shown you. Light switch, you go in the house, it's got 6 light switches. So and there's no button, there's no words anywhere. And so you go in there and you click on the first one, and it turns the dishwasher on instead of better is the grinder thing. The sink.
The fan, right? You get those darn fans going, you can never turn them off.
You put your food in it and it turns it up. The hell? Oh well, never better. Garbage disposal, that's the term. No, so right now it's hit or miss. And so you go in the room now and say, Siri, turn on the light. Well, it's got to be only one light. Otherwise, how's it going to turn on light number 3? There's switch. The reality was 6 switches. Mine has 4. But, so that kind of world. I like to think of, so I used to work on my VW Bug back when people could modify and work on cars. I had a book, it was VW Bug maintenance for dummies, right? And you turn to page 55, and it's how to change the piston, which I had to do. So that's contextualized knowledge, right? So how can we bring the book of tomorrow, the dishwasher book, right? Here's this big dishwasher. I bought a dishwasher recently, and there's no buttons to press. It's a piece of paper, for God's sake, And how are you going to press on buttons? The books of tomorrow, we're going to put the buttons back into the physical world. So the QR code, the barcode, the what they call them optical markers. I've come up with the idea that I can now use those and turn on the Christmas tree lights. I can turn on, the feeder. We have these feeders here that are these dog feeders. You can send a message and all kinds of. So that's what we're trying to figure out how to do, is do something back to the physical world. I mentioned disabled people and things like that, where I've got a guy, they're using eye tracking now for being able to click buttons. So we're going to build the buttons for people to do.
Yeah, one of the things I think is just fascinating about what you're working on is how it blurs the digital world with our physical world. You can have digital buttons that do stuff in our physical world, right? Like those light switches.
Exactly. And then the voice recognition, you worked on that in 1988, right? The margin. We have had voice recognition concepts for a long time. But you go in with other approaches, well, I've got people that can't talk, so that can't be the only solution. So we've come in and we have these markers that become your programming environment, that you go in, maybe there's a marker above the light switch, or maybe they're just in your pocket, and you digitize those. You've seen the scanner, you scan the QR code, and it takes you to the web page for the menu for your restaurant. I've got it so that you scan it and it turns the lights on, securely, because you're the right user to do it and all that kind of stuff. So you want to be able to digitize the virtual world and bring it back into the physical world. That's what I've been working on. These call them semantic marker. It's semantically, you and I click on the exact same QR code that you see at the restaurant, and we get different results. Something like even languages. I'm always coming in. I'm a Japanese customer. I always want it in Japanese if I can get it. I hit the same QR code that's for the menu for the restaurant, and it comes out in Japanese. How cool is that? That's contextualized, right? Contextualized reality.
And you can take it with you too. Like if you've got it set up for turning your lights on in your home and those kinds of things, you can go to a vacation home on the other side of the United States and you walk in, and conceivably you could have an app, and you could just press the buttons, the lights come on, the temperature you want comes on, and all of those things.
Can you imagine that? So every device you buy, you have to download the app just for that device, right? It has a bunch of buttons they made up, That's why we
you mean now,
today. And it's this fragmented world. It's like the Tower of Babel, right? From the computer science world, everybody's got their own apps. Can we back to the person? So you mentioned that you take the manual with you. I've been using this manual, and man, I know this button turns on the weather channel. My brother-in-law needs the weather channel wherever he goes. Well, it turns out the weather channel is different on every. You go to DirecTV, it's channel 55. If you go to the internet, you have to log into the internet. You got to go to Netflix or whatever and click on the. There's not a lot of steps. How can we mitigate those steps? And that's what these semantic markers are really helping with. So it was really weird. Like 5 years ago, I started finding out that these cameras in our phones, the middle schooler has a camera, the iPhone or Android or whatever, and it recognizes these QR codes perfectly. And that's where the hypertext comes into. Imaging is our new hypertext. So we're kind of making hypertext great again or something. It really is valuable at the physical world as well as the virtual world. Because we're used to the virtual world, we just click on a button. But to get that button clickable, we need the Internet of Things, all these devices. We need a messaging mechanism to get to them, and we need a vocabulary to, some mechanism to get in there from the physical world, right? And buttons, physical buttons, things like that. Those are part of the physical world, but they've merged the virtual into it, right? Because they got a computer in these things. This is my cool smart button. This has and then the cool thing is, if you've come up to so simple, right? You just told about the manual you took with you to, your Aruba vacation, and you turn to page 5, and it has the button for turning on the TV or whatever. It's obviously different in Costa Rica or wherever. So you create a button that does it, and then you morph it to that world, right? You zap the credentials of that Airbnb you're staying at, and everything, all your things morph to that new language, stuff like that. That's
and I think the part that might be missing for our audience is that you've created this level of abstraction, right? In the sense that, and the software that does that, and what that does is that maps it to these specific devices that are tailored for your world, that you've tailored, that you like that. And that's what makes it really smart. That's the part, because now you can scan, or you can push a button or whatever those things are, and they do something wonderful for you. But they do that because your world is contextualized. It's mapped onto that. And that's the slick part, I think, that you've done, if I've described that correctly.
No, that's pretty cool. I haven't heard it described, so that's good. That's neat that you got it going.
Well, thank you. It's guests like you that make it cool, by the way. Mark. Thank you. What did we actually learn today? And that is that contextual reality will transform how we live and work. So imagine coming home and turning on every light you need with one click. Then on vacation, you use the same button in a brand new rental you've never been to before, and it sets up your preferences instantly.
Sounds like it would save some time.
Yeah, it actually would save a lot of time and a lot of frustration, I think, too. And so I should mention to our audience, in case they didn't catch it, that we've had some technical difficulties, with that. And one of them is that we lost the part where he tells us about his website. And his website is Kona Currents. So I've got up the coffee cup that I've gotten from him. It's Kona Currents, and that's his company. And his website is www.konacurrents.com. So that's www.konacurrents.com. So that happened too. So hopefully our participants will be with us today. And if they think contextual reality will greatly improve our lives in the future, we're going to ask them that. And so for our live participants, follow the link that's in the chat. And for folks seeing this as a recording, you can still take this poll later and make your voice heard. So you live folks right now, go ahead and give us a little idea of what you're thinking here. And here are your responses. Yes, I see how it will make things better, and I just can't wait for it. That's contextual reality. Or maybe it will make some things better, and for those people who think that no way it will create more harm than good. And so it's right there in our chat, and there's the little link to our straw poll. Okay, while we're waiting on the poll, Rikko, I think that this is going to have much greater impact than just convenience. I think what Scott has been working on is going to really have a great impact on our society in many ways. And that's because it ties the virtual world with the physical one. And so it's easy to imagine really entire new jobs emerging. For example, a robot that roofs a building could be given instructions by a person on the ground, or even in that worker's home for that matter. And it makes me think about those remote control toys I had as a kid, where I would control their movements.
Yeah, there's going to be some cool jobs on the way. Probably ours.
I think so, right? I mean, for us children growing up that want to work with machinery and stuff and move it and be toys, we'll never have to grow up. We can just have those jobs when we emerge. At least that would work for me, I think. Well, let's go back and see what our poll says. I'm going to go over to our website here and show the results. And doesn't look like we've had a whole lot of interaction there, Rikko. What are we going to do about this?
I think we got to find somebody out there with a pulse. Subscribe.
I thought your mom was going to watch us today and be part of our poll. I mean, what's up with her?
Oh, she's not that internet savvy.
Okay. All right. You're supposed to ask me about my quote at this time. This is how things are going today.
Oh, what is the quote of the day, sir?
Okay, here it is. I'm excited. This is the quote. I'm excited about augmented reality because unlike virtual reality, which closes the world out, AR, that's augmented reality, allows individuals to be present in the world, but hopefully allows an improvement on what's happening presently. Most people don't want to lock themselves out from the world.
Well, is that a quote from Gilligan's Island? It sounds like a professor.
Kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? But no, it's from Tim Cook of Apple fame. All righty. So this brings us to the end of another episode, even though we might have had just a glitch or two. So you can catch the past shows on theprofessorislive.com or on YouTube, Spotify, and just about every podcast platform out there.
Subscribe, people. It can only get worse.
And there you have it, folks. See you next time on The Professor is Live.
The Professor is Live is hosted by Mark Salisbury, produced by Rikko Smart. We go live on LinkedIn, then bring it straight to you as a podcast. Want the inside scoop on new episodes and the chance to bring The Professor is Live to your own event? Don't wait. Join The Professor is Live with Mark Salisbury Group on LinkedIn, or head to theprofessorislive.com today. While you're there, check out our Executive Coaching for the Era of AI program. It's based on Mark's book, Leadership in the Era of AI. It will empower you to lead with more brains, more courage, and more heart, so you can cut through complexity, embrace change with confidence, and inspire the people around you. This isn't just about leadership at work. It's about transforming your life in the era of AI. Until next time, stay curious, stay optimistic, and keep leading with purpose. The Professor is Live. With Mark Salisbury, copyright 2025. Watch past episodes of The Professor is Live on www.theprofessorislive.com. Videos are on YouTube's The Professor is Live channel, and podcasts are available on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Hosted by Mark Salisbury. Produced by Rikko Smart. Thanks to Dr. Kevin Brady, History of Technology expert. Thanks, too, to Dr. Keith Gilsdorf, Professor of Economics at Augsburg University. And thanks to Dr. Ryan Hart, Associate Professor of Computer Science at the University of St. Thomas. The Professor is Live with Mark Salisbury. Copyright 2025.